Hi, welcome to Irvin Gaming. I'm Irvin,
And I'm Dom.
and recently we both went to Codswallop in West Ryde here in Sydney, bolt action tournament.
Yeah, quite a fun one. It was my first tournament, and your
Ninth, maybe
8th or
10th,
ninth.
something along those, somewhere between 8 and 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was really nice. It was a small tournament, so the army lists were at 489
A
points.
very unique points limit.
Chosen because the King Tiger, which I believe was one of the organisers' favourite tanks, they produced 489 of them.
As you do.
I actually really enjoyed the points limit being so weird.
Yeah, it was abstract, but it was good. It worked out to make the lists a little bit not quite frustrating, but you had to think a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
And it's not like you could have like heaps of other 500 point lists already done up and you've tested them heaps. You had to make adjustments.
Yeah, and I think that's what I enjoyed was that it was a weird points level, so you really had to think about it. What did you run on your list?
So, on my list, I ran my British 8th Army, so predominantly Australians.
Yep.
I had a veteran second lieutenant who I ran with a submachine gun. I had two veteran squads with 7 men, 6 rifles, and 1 SMG.
Yep.
I had my veteran chaplain armed with a pistol and all, so the max 31 points you can take him at. I had a regular infantry squad of 5, just 5 rifles. They were my Scots, my Scottish support.
Mm-hmm.
I ran with the national characteristic, my special rule, Vengeance. So it's a knockoff pins. I also had a boys anti-tank rifle team running regular. And then my MVP of the tournament, my regular A9 Cruiser Mark 1, which was my British support there.
So I ran the finish and I centered my army around the special rule Master of the Hunt. Master of the Hunt allows you to advance, flip it to an ambush if you don't shoot. And then when you're shooting from that ambush with rifles, you add 1. So instead of hitting on 3s, you're hitting on 2s.
Yeah, right.
So I kind of centered my army around that. I had a second lieutenant with a submachine gun. I then had 2 sissy recon squads. Now, funnily enough, as we're doing this podcast, I'm looking at my list and realizing the first squad should have had 3 submachine guns, but I actually only brought 2 models with submachine guns. So
he was running 3 points under.
yeah, I was running 3 points under what I thought I was. I could have, who knows? That one shot could have, it wouldn't have made any difference. The only place where I think it could have made a difference, I ended up winning that anyway. So
Yeah.
So 2 sissy recon squads with 4 rifles, 2 submachine guns. And then I ran a sniper using the Simo Haya miniature that Warlord used to make. And that was all veteran. Then the regulars, I had an anti-tank rifle. I had a Vickers 6-ton, which was T26 with 2 machine gun turrets. And then 2 T20 Komsomolets tractors. And the Cozies were very good. I had basically a mechanized army list, which was awesome.
Yeah, it was something I was very terrified of in the lead up to the tournament if I were to line up against your list, because in all our practice games, your list was absolutely unstoppable.
Yeah, going into the tournament, I was 7 games undefeated with the same list.
Yeah, no matter Australians, Yankees,
Americans. I played against some Germans.
Yeah, there was just nothing that could stop it. And your wins weren't just wins; they were mostly, if not all, pretty much tablings.
It was 6 wins, 1 draw going into the tournament.
Yeah.
Give some highlights of our games. Game 1 for me, I came up against some beautiful Italian Alpini, and I believe the guy who made the army list, his great uncle, I believe, had actually served in this year. 4 of them, 4 of his great uncles or 4 of his uncles, something, had actually served in the unit he made. And so that was, I think, just that kind of personal connection to an army is really cool.
That's awesome. Like that's much more unique than like a lot of bolt action armies you'll see out there. Because like, who has like let alone 1, 4?
Yeah,
Like,
in the same unit.
Yeah.
That means that both his mum and his dad's side, or maybe not, I don't know how big his family is, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
insane.
a lot of people.
Yeah, and that they were all Italian special forces.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the first game, there was 3 objectives set up along the back of the board.
Yep.
And the attacker had to capture and the defender had to defend. But to capture, you didn't have to stay on it. Once you got to it, it flipped and then it was yours. And the attacker had to get 2 to win. Anything else was a victory for the defender.
All right.
And so, yeah, I ran up, got in my Cozzies, mechanized up the side. I was pretty close, captured one of the objectives. And then last turn of the game, he is holding an objective with an officer, and he has one of his Alpini squads about 7 odd inches away. You need to be within 3 inches of the objective to capture.
Yeah.
And these Alpini have 1 pin. And they foobar, and thankfully for him, I suppose, they don't friendly fire, they just run off. And so they're nowhere near the objective. And so at this point, I'm like, all right, let's go. Last turn shenanigans. And he's just got 1 officer sitting in some light cover who's downed. So we're looking at 6s to hit, right?
Yeah,
just as a
tough
baseline, we're looking at 6s to hit. And so we do a couple of things. We assault him, we shoot him up with everything. And it was the last shot of the game. I don't actually remember which unit it was, but it was right as the tournament organizer shouted out, last dice. I was rolling the dice for this, and I killed the officer. And earlier in the turn, I'd run my anti-tank rifle team onto the objective. And so the objective flipped to me, and that was the end of the game with a victory for me. How'd game 1 go for you, Dom?
Well, it was the opposite experience for me.
Yeah.
I came up against the most unique army list in a different sense.
Yeah.
He centered his German DAK list, DAK, around a regular 88. He ran that regular and managed to somehow run the rest of his force regular, but alas, he only had 5 dice.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the books in front of us, but I think off the top of my head, that's like 200 odd points.
It's just under. It was like 180.
So it's like half his army.
Pretty much. But alas, he took the sacrifice of points, and once I managed to destroy that with my A9 cruiser, part strategy, part luck.
Yep. As it always is in bolt action.
Yeah, because, I mean, alas, I managed to time my movements well and get the A9 cruiser in range and start to pin it up.
Yep.
But also, it had a shot at A9 cruiser at, like, nearly point-blank range, just out, and the cruiser bounced it.
Yeah, right.
It hit, and then he rolled a 1 to damage, so...
Yeah, the cruiser has, like, I think it's like 30 mils of armor on the front.
As per the rules, armor 7.
Yeah.
But yeah... I managed to take out the 88, and I was making moves up the board. Half the game was honestly just me running behind cover just to get to his side of the board.
Yeah.
And we had a late push. Things were looking good, but alas, we ran out of time and could not make the final push we needed. So, well, at least I killed the 88 and really put the pressure on him. But I also had fun doing it. And yeah, I came out with a minor defeat.
So, game 2, what did you get up to in game 2?
So game 2, that was a far easier game to say the least. I came up against like I said, I had a minor defeat in the first round. So what happens when you have a defeat is you go up against easier players, and I got someone who was playing only his like 3rd, 4th, or 5th bolt action game ever.
It's actually, like, in Australia, I don't know how the meta is in other countries. In Australia, if you're new to bolt action, it's actually really helpful to go to a tournament because I have yet to run into someone at a tournament who's running a win at all costs list. I mean, if you're new to bolt action, you're in Australia, you listen to this, Go to a tournament. You'll learn really quickly how to play, and you'll actually have a good time.
And a lot of them are made by decent bolt action communities, and not just
Yeah.
bolt action, but wargaming communities.
Yeah.
But yeah, I came up against quite a new guy. He was just there to have fun. He was showing off the force he's put together and just really trying to learn the game. And yeah, we had quite a fun game. I just pretty much went what was it? What's the scenario?
Sectors.
It was sectors.
Yeah.
And so I was like, brilliant. I will just go for that last minute run onto his side, and that's exactly what happened. To a T. It was nice and simple. He ran a full veteran army, which meant he had low dice once again. So I had the dice advantage. The A9 cruiser led the way, and everyone else followed. And alas, everything just went exactly to plan.
Yeah, nice.
And I got a very, very convincing win.
Yeah, well done.
But he came out with only a minor defeat because despite the fact that I pinned him up, I really gave him a hard time. He only had 1 unit die.
Yeah, right.
He had quite a few troops die, but only 1 unit. So
yeah, and it's a unit that counts when you get towards your scoring at the end. So
yeah, exactly. So full credit to him. He did very well, and his objective was to have fun, and he had fun.
Yeah,
and
nice.
as did I.
So then in round 2, I came up against one of the best players in Australia, and he was running Polish cavalry. But it was all right because we were sectors, right? And I'm like, I got a mechanized force and I can put them in reserve. So unfortunately, I couldn't put everything with tracks in reserve. The T-26 had to start on the field. But the 2 Cozies with their squads inside started in reserve. And the plan was bring them on turn 5, rush up the side of the field, get them all into that enemy sector, win the game like that.
Fair enough. Reasonable strategy.
Yeah, so turn 5, I come to bring them on. He's got a TKS with a 20mm sitting in ambush loaded with HE rounds because it turned out that the HE rounds were going to end up being more effective than AP because of the range. So he's loaded up with HE in ambush, and I bring on the first Cozy, and he fires, and either he misses or he just bounces the shots and doesn't do anything. And I'm like, sweet. I go to bring on the second Cozy, and it fails its order test, and so it's now impossible for me to win the game.
Well, that makes things easier.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, we're going for the draw then. And yeah, no, that wasn't happening, not against the Polish cavalry list. I think the final score was something like, when you added up the points for sectors, it was like 11 to me and like 20 something to him, 21 I think to him.
Goodness.
Had my strategy worked, I would have been whatever 7 times 3 is. I can't do
21.
Math. 21. So I would have been on 21 as well had my strategy worked. So yeah. Game 3. So we go into game 3. I'm on 1 minor loss, 1 major victory.
And I'm on 1 minor loss and 1 major victory.
Yeah.
And so I wonder what happens here.
So we came up against each other.
Oh, what do you know?
Dom was quite nervous, having lost to my list.
Yeah, knowing exactly what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah. And so we pull up against each other. I've actually got a minute's worth of gameplay, so I'll chuck that in here. Ah, you bastard. Yep.
You've left them open.
Yeah, well, because I thought you were going to move. I could go down. Because I am in ambush. Long range?
Yeah, or long, so it'd be 4s.
If I go down, I make it 6s. So I'm going to flip that to a down, make it 6s for you to hit.
Alright. 6 rifle shots, hit on 6s.
Yep. 3 hits. Oh my word. Oh my stars. Oh my stars. 5 skill.
1 die.
Chance.
No exceptional. So 1 down, take a pin.
Wowee. All right. Next dice. Yeah. So we had fun while playing each other.
We did.
So it was one of the custom missions, I believe. I don't believe it was one of the rulebook ones. There's 5 objectives, 4 in the corners and 1 in the middle, and they're all evenly spaced. The 4 corner ones were worth 1 point, and the center one was worth 2. So I run my Cosy up the middle of the... So I put 1 Cosy in outflank. And here's a fun thing. Dom has never actually... We found this out at the tournament. He's never used the outflanking rule before.
Yeah, this is true. This is a new rule for me. So I was giving it a red hot go for the first time.
Yeah, he's like, tournament. Perfect time to try a rule I've never tried before.
Because, it sounded like a good rule, so what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. So I've put a Cosy with a squad in outflank. And what did you put in?
I put my A9 Cruiser in outflank.
Coming in from the outflank. Right on top of some fins.
Yeah.
So I run a Cosy straight of the game, straight to the middle one, jump out, leave the squad there, and then run the T26 and that Cosy down the end of the road to your side of the table, obliterate the anti-tank gun that's there.
Yeah, that anti-tank rifle had a very bad day.
Yeah, poor dude. And so I'm sitting on, I'm holding 2 objectives at the back, I'm holding the middle one, I'm on 4 points, you're on 2. And so I'm feeling pretty confident. And then comes the outflankers. Yeah. And I assume both machine guns at the squad?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Gee, who'd have thought that this would go so well for me? Because I brought my A9 Cruiser right where his squad was at the middle. They came on, obliterated that squad within 2 turns. So yeah, that squad got wiped out, and then onto one of the objectives on my side, which I can control of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it became a oh gosh, look out, the A9 Cruiser is coming.
Yeah. And so that was, from my perspective, the left-hand side of the table. On the right-hand side, from my perspective, left from yours, the Australian 10-man squad?
7-man.
7-man squad.
But with they had the second lieutenant and chaplain in tow.
And they're advancing up, they kill my anti-tank rifle and take one of the objectives.
Yeah.
And so we're going in, Dom has 2 objectives. Here we go, so game 3, we're actually live, because it's me versus Dom. We've fought through to a draw. Yeah.
You just get 10 points each.
That was
best case scenario for us.
Yeah, best case scenario, both get 10.
Selfishly, obviously, we want to win, but I feel like we'd both be getting possible...
Yeah.
I'd get a costly victory. I think you might just be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd just be okay.
Yeah. So, hard-fought battle. This A9 Cruiser, I think, your man of the match, for certain.
Yeah. He caused lots of havoc.
Yeah. I'm lucky that in this scenario, vehicles can't contest, because if they could, you win.
Yeah.
My officer over here, man of the match for the Finns, didn't do anything all game, just kept getting down orders and stood on the objective.
Yeah.
The Scots did pretty decently. I think statistically, because we did roll for turn 7.
Yes.
And
the game ended on turn 6. Yeah. So
and I think statistically, had we played a turn 7, the odds were in your favour to win.
Yeah, it was another case of just a little bit more game, and I was there.
Yeah.
But alas, we come out with a draw, and given the odds going into the game, I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, so we're both on a total of 37 points for the tournament at this point. And we're going into game 4. But before game 4, we get some dinner, some nice pizza, because it was like 6 p.m. at this point.
Yeah, it was pizza time.
And we had the painting competition. Or not painting, what was it?
It wasn't
presentation or something like that.
It was, well, they call it...
Oh, that's right. It was
Hanno Swag Award.
Yeah.
But it was a combination of best painted, best themed.
Best presented.
It was basically just, of all the armies, what one was just your favourite. Doesn't matter what your reason is. What was your favourite army?
Yeah, and so then we all put our votes in and whatnot. And there was 3 armies that were really close at the end of it. And there was the Australian cavalry.
Yes, the camelry.
Yeah, so camel cavalry. There was the Soviet all-female army.
Yeah, so that was the Gulag gals,
Oh my goodness.
the all Soviet female squad army, I should say.
Well, platoon.
Platoon, yeah, it was a really cool theme.
And then the last one was the Alpini that I mentioned before.
Yes.
They were also in contention. And so Dom and I, we looked around, we looked at all the forces, and between us, we were both convinced that the cavalry was a solid third place.
Yeah.
But what we couldn't decide was the female Soviets or the Alpini. And so we decided we'd both vote for one of them. So I think I put in my vote on the Alpini and you did the female Soviets.
Yeah, that's correct.
And so votes were tallied up and actually the cavalry won.
Cavalry was what came out on top.
Yeah.
And because it was such a travesty, I would have to come up against them in the fourth match and try to rain on their parade.
And
so it was an Australian training exercise.
Yeah.
Because, of course, the cavalry were British 8th and predominantly Australian.
Yeah, Palestine, 1941, they're training.
Yeah, exactly right. And, oh, man, this one was a variation on Kitty Hawk Down, is it called?
Yeah, from the Bolt Action Alliance 2020 mission pack.
Yeah. So this was actually quite fun, but also it meant that the first 3 turns were just both of us playing a game of chicken.
Yeah, because there was 3 randomly dropping supply drops. How'd they drop for you?
They dropped in his favour.
Yeah.
Because both of them either dropped more toward his side of the board or toward his units. And so it was very much him defending and me attacking by the last 3 turns, but worked out pretty all right. The very right objective was quite deep in his zone, so that was very much a last-ditch effort for me. That was the plan.
Yeah.
The one on the very left, he already had a squad right there, but I managed to take him on, and in the end, he came out on top on that side. Guess what happened in this game, Irvin?
Yeah, what happened?
A war crime happened.
Yeah.
And my chaplain was shortly killed thereafter.
Yeah,
but alas,
he did something first.
He at least did his rule first, but the rest of the guys died anyway. Then in the middle, I managed to take control of that objective. Things were going fine.
Yep.
In come the cavalry.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness, here's something I learned as well. Another thing I learned. Cavalry can assault from 18 inches away.
Yep, they can indeed.
And so the cavalry came charging at my boys, and it was a tough battle. The assault went for 4 rounds.
Yeah, right.
We drew 3 times, and then I finally got one up on the last round.
Oh, goodness.
And there went the cavalry in a ferocious battle, but alas, going down to the more superior Australians who didn't need to be on camelback.
Yeah.
Or camel hump, I should say.
Between camel hump. Were it single hump camels or double hump?
They were double. Yeah, they're double. So, toward endgame, he had 2, I had 1, but my pesky officer made a run into the building, right next to the other objective on his on the right side, the one that was very deep in his zone. And so I was able to contest it.
Nice.
Just at the death. And so we came out with a 1-1 draw.
Nice.
And how did your final game go?
Basically nothing happened. So for 3 turns we kind of sat there shooting each other on 7s.
Yeah, another game of chicken.
Yeah. And then the drop came in and they all dropped basically in my deployment area.
All right, so you had to do nothing.
Yeah. And so I just sat on them. And then came the last turn of the game. And I'm like, yeah, I just want to pass an order test so I can, guarantee I'm on these. Because, you can't pre-measure. So I'm not 100% certain I'm within 3 inches of the objective. I could be out. It turns out we checked because what happened, we checked afterwards and I was 4 inches away. So I needed to move anyway. I got 1 pin. Try to move my fins. I foobar, friendly fire, and then don't move. And so I lose that objective. I then do an assault with my sniper, managed to contest an objective, and we contest another objective. So it was 3 contested objectives. at the end of the game.
Wow.
Yeah. On one hand, I really stuffed up at the end. On the other hand, hats off to my opponent. He played really well. Honestly, I think he deserved to win. I think had time not got called on us, because I think we were in turn 5 and time got called. I think if we'd gone to turn 6, that was it. That was game over for me. He had one of those, the new FAQ'd Panzer 3s sitting next to my sniper.
Oh.
So, like, yeah, small man team, cool, whatever. He's getting 15 machine gun shots. He's dying. And so he would have had 1 controlled, and if nothing else happened, 1 controlled, 2 contested, he would have won. Yeah. So that was annoying.
Yeah, and that concluded our tournament. And Irvin, you and I, same points.
Yeah, 47
Same record.
points. 47 points. And we went through, did the prize table. One thing I love about this is everyone gets a prize. The tournament cost, I think, $30 entry fee.
Yeah,
and
I
despite the fact we placed 14th, I walked away with a $60 prize.
Tied 14th, and we basically made a profit as far as the prize we came away with. So imagine how much the people in the podium positions were cheering.
Yeah, so amazing sponsors. So we had Knights of Dice. If you're Australian and you need a case for your lads. By the way, none of this is sponsored, but I thought I'd shout them out.
We just buy from the sponsors.
Yeah,
we
use these
we
a
do
lot.
like them.
Yeah, Knights of Dice. I'm probably one of their top customers with how much I use their custom foam creation kit.
Oh, speaking of that, we need to, after this recording, sort out an order from them.
Yeah, we actually are. That's going to be great. Viv, if you're listening, we're about to put an order in for some custom foam. So that's Knights of Dice, probably the best company I've ever ordered from in terms of wargaming. Probably actually just in general, to be honest, not just in terms of wargaming. The customer service is amazing. Australian place, I think they're in Melbourne.
Yeah, they're based in Melbourne or around
cringe
Melbourne.
born. Got him. Then there was War and Peace Gaming.
Yeah, War and Peace Games, another very good
love them.
Very good wargaming company in Australia.
Yeah, they're up on the Central Coast. There was the Warriors Den. I haven't actually ordered from them before, but we did meet the guy who's like I think he was the head of Warriors Den. I don't know if CEO is the right I don't know what his title is. He was at the tournament. He was a friendly guy. They're based in Brisbane, Warriors Den. There was RXK Miniatures. I'm not quite sure which order those three.
RKX sounds a bit more right, but I don't remember either.
Anyway, he does some great 3D printed models, and he sells the STLs, and he does them in resin. My T28, which hasn't yet seen camera, but hopefully maybe we can get a game in with that soon, is from him. Amazing model.
Yeah.
There was more sponsors, and
plenty.
I can't even think of them. Amazing. And Warlord Games was a sponsor as well.
Yeah, Warlord Games. This was an official Warlord tournament, and as per official Warlord tournaments, the podium place players would receive the coveted silver order dice.
Yeah, unfortunately no gold order dice were sent, so first place just got some silver, but hey, I really want them. I really want the silver order dice. I'm not good enough, that's my problem. But so that was the tournament. I walked away with a Panzer II as a prize. Yeah,
I walked away with a Chevy 15-ton truck.
Yeah. So that was Codswallop 2022. If you're in Sydney, if you're near West Ryde, look it up on Facebook. They're called the Western Front Gamers. Yeah. They put on this tournament. Great guys. They've organised a lot of tournaments. I think the 2 guys, I think there might be 3 actually. The 2 or 3 guys who organise the club, the friendliest guys I've ever met in the community.
Yeah, very great community. Just even outside of the head honchos, you got a lot of great players, a lot of fun players.
Yeah.
And just very good hobbyists as well. There were some really well painted armies. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Like when you see people making just regular infantry squads, and they all have eyes. Yeah. You're going to see some really good stuff.
They're all Golden Demon quality, and you're like, whew.
Yeah. Good golly gosh.
Well, thanks for listening. We're going to go put in that Knights of Dice order now.
Yeah.
Please hit subscribe. Please hit like. Leave a comment down below. Helps us out in the algorithm.
Yeah, so they say.
Yeah.
What content are we going to be seeing soon?
Well, we have a game that you and I played. Honestly, I can't remember what we played. I think I played my US and you played your Germans.
No, I can't remember either, honestly.
Yeah.
So we'll find out, I guess, when you edit and post that video.
Yeah. All right. See you, my friends.
Take care.